Well, so it's wonderful to be here with Congressman Carlos Bruce, who's Congressman in Peru. Congressman Bruce, thank you so much for joining us here at our office today.
Thank you for seeing me.
For our membership, Team NGLCC Global first met Congressman Bruce in September of this year when we were in Lima, Peru, conducting our internal in-country evaluation as part of our USAID contract to begin projects in Peru in 2015. Congressman Bruce is here today to speak at the Victory Institute's LGBT Leaders 2014 conference here in Washington, D.C. And Victory Institute is a close organizational partner with us in the Global LGBT Development Partnership under the USAID, U.S. Agency for International Development. Congressman Bruce, before I begin with the interview, if I may, I want to share a little bit more about your background and some of the amazing things that you've done for LGBT people in your country and around the world. As an expert in economics and business, Congressman Carlos Bruce graduated from the economic faculty in Lima, at the University of Lima, and from 1998 to 2000, he was the president of the Peruvian Exporters Association, or ADEX. In 2001, Carlos Bruce managed the campaign for presidential candidate Alejandro Toledo, and upon winning the race, Congressman Carlos Bruce served in a variety of posts in Toledo's administration. In 2006, Congressman Bruce won his own seat in the Congress and served from 2006 to 2011, upon which in 2011 he was re-elected again for a second term. On May 19th of this year, Congressman Carlos Bruce made the very brave decision to come out publicly, which made him the first openly gay member of the Peruvian Congress. Since his coming out, Congressman Bruce has been an active proponent of LGBT rights in Peru and a role model for human rights around the world. With this, I want to thank you for all that you've done and for being a leader for our community. Thank you so much.
No,
Great. Well, Congressman Bruce, it's an honor to have you here today. I thought I'd begin by asking you about the business climate in your country. NGLCC Global is very excited to be hosting an LGBT Summit of the Americas and a major conference in Lima in 2015. And as someone who's an expert in economics and business, I thought it would be interesting for our constituency and our business owners who may want to travel to Lima to know a little bit about what it's like to do business in Peru, and particularly why businesses in the U.S. should look to Peru as a place to do trade.
Well, maybe the main reason is that in the last 14 years, Peru has been growing steadily. Our economy is growing more or less already between 6 or 8%. And it's amazingly a different country now than it used to be 14 years ago. And there's a lot of things going on, a lot of business, not only in international trade, but also internally. Peru is one of the biggest growing economy in Latin America. So that is a very good reason to do business over
there. And also being a member of the Pacific Alliance.
Right. We're a member of the Pacific Alliance and of course a member of APEC as well. And geographically, Peru is in the center of South America. So it's a very good place to put it somehow like a hub for the rest of the region.
That's true. Business as an LGBT person, what would you say the climate is like?
Well, you know, in the business community, if you have a good product at a good price, nobody cares. I cannot say that it's a leverage, but the business community is looking for price, quality, and everything else is not as important. But there's a growing community of LGBT people in Peru, and a lot of them has a high income. That is a very interesting market for different products, maybe in the tourism sector. And they are just now consolidating themselves as a community, maybe because of the bills that we have proposed for the first time in the history of Peru, for give some rights to the LGBT people. And the media has been very sympathetic with these bills. So there's an interesting market that is just expresses himself in the last years.
I think that's really powerful to when you start talking about como el mercado rosa, the pink market or the LGBT market, that I think that can sometimes change the dialogue that people have. I want to ask you, my next question is about the LGBT community in Peru. So what is the current situation like for LGBT people in your country? And how has the conversation around LGBT rights changed since you came out in May?
I think it's improving a lot. Before we have been proposed the bills for civil union, it was first, afterwards I came out because of this discussion. Nobody spoke about LGBT rights publicly, besides some organizations that were also always fighting for this. But it was not in the national media. It was the presidential candidates didn't talk about it. No? So for the first time we proposed this. First we proposed a hate crimes bill, and then civil unions, and it was in the national media, and it was very well treated. Surprisingly for me, the newspapers took it very well. And at first there was homophobic attacks, but after almost a year that we have been fighting for this, and of course in the middle I understood that I see that it was a necessity for me to come out because of the stupid things that were saying that those are sick people, whatever. You cannot be sick people if you have been minister of state and you have been congressman and re-elected, and sick people cannot do that. So I thought it was necessary to do it, and I did it. And now, first of all, it's politically incorrect to speak badly about the LGBT community. That's a very good thing that we have gained. And secondly, all the state institutions has give their official opinions in favor of civil unions. The Ombudsman, the Ministry of Justice, the judicial power, the Poder Judicial, we call it in Spanish judicial power, and the prosecutor, the four institutions that are part of the judicial system in the state, all of them have put in writing their opinion in favor of civil unions. So in the debate of the ideas, we have won. Now I cannot say if my colleagues that have a lot of homophobic prejudice, insecurities, I don't know if they're going to vote in favor or not, but in the debate, we have won. So that's a very large step that we have gained in only 1 year.